Okay, so in the last class we discussed about the two cavity klystron. So now today we'll discuss about the multi-cavity klystron. Okay, generally the multi-cavity klystron is used to amplify the signal because as the cavities are increasing, so the focusing of beam will going to happen, and the energy whatever the electrons which will travel as electron beam, so that will amplified by these cavities. Okay, so this klystron amplification, so it will improve the as well as the amplification as well as the gain of the klystron. Okay, so here you can see the power output, even frequency bandwidth also you can increase, and efficiency also you can increase. So this it is shown here three cavities. Okay, even you can go up to 5 6 up to, so generally practically it will go up to 5 cavities. Okay, so now you can see here as like two cavity klystron, there is a electron gun for generation of the electron beam and drift tube assembly. So this will be consist of the resonant cavities. So three resonant cavities here it is shown, and there is a collector assembly for the collecting of the, so the energy from the electron. Okay, so as I said, the addition of these cavities are increase the velocity of the electrons and the beam which will form, and it is velocity modulated by the electron beam, and it produces the increased in the power output compared as compared to like only two cavity klystron. Okay, so here the power and the efficiency will going to greatly improved by these resonant cavities. So now if we these cavities are tuned to the same frequency, then the gain will be increased, but the bandwidth will be, since it is a resonant structure, the bandwidth will be very narrow. Now if the frequencies are slightly tuned to different nearby frequencies of these cavities, then the gain will be reduced but the bandwidth of this amplifier will be increased. Okay, so that is what about the multi-cavity klystron, how the bandwidth and the gain can be improved. Okay, so other construction and operation as like the two cavity klystron, it will generate the electron beam, and the magnetic focusing coils will be placed to uh, reduce the spreading of the electron beam. So once the electron beam is formed, it will travel through this drift tube assembly or cavities. So now after velocity and density modulation, the electron bunching will be formed. So the electron bunches, it will be experience the RF cycle and it will be velocity modulated, and that bunching of electrons will transfer the energy to the so collector. So that is what operation. So here as I said, the increase of the resonant cavities will increase the power output of the klystron. Okay, so as I said, the all intermediate cavities in multi-klystron operate in the same manner as the as like two cavity klystron. So this is a important point for the safety. All these assemblies are grounded. Okay, so entire drift tube assembly and collector plate, and also this one, uh, the input as well as the collector and the drift tube assembly will be grounded. Okay, so as like electron beam is accelerated towards the drift tube by a large negative pulse, so which is applied at the cathode. So this magnetic focusing coils are placed around the drift tube to minimize the beam spreading or debunching. Okay, so in high power klystrons, the concave shape of the cathode aids the focus of the beam. So here you can see the concave shape which is there here in the cathode, that will uh, aids the focus of the electron beam. Okay, so as I said, electrons are velocity and density modulated by the cathode pulse, so which is actually acquired by the energy acquired by the electrons at the cathode pulse, which is experiences the RF cycle at the cavities, and they will be acquire the more energy, and uh, correspondingly they will modulate, and it will collected by the collector. Okay, so when these electrons are travel through drift space between the cavities, as like bunches are formed, so as a result, so these bunched electrons will deliver the energy to the output cavity from its kinetic energy, which is actually acquired by the from the cathode. Okay, so this is about uh, the bunching and the velocity and density modulation. So as I said, so this bunching process when it takes place, so the amplifier gain will be increased. So how the gain will be increased? Only when you tune the frequencies of all the cavities, which will be same. So that is what we call it as synchronous tuning. So if all the cavities, if you uh, tune to the same frequency, that will be called it as synchronous tuning, and the gain will be increased. So you can see you might have seen that whenever you have the same resonant frequency, the gain of this will going to increase. Okay, so like say for example, if you have a resonant frequency of cavity 1, okay, so if you tune the same resonant frequency of cavity 2 and cavity 3, so obviously the gain will going to so add up and it will going to increase. So now if the resonant frequencies are slightly, if you tune to different frequencies, and all these resonant will add together and it will give the wide bandwidth. Okay, so like that the bandwidth also increased by tuning the frequency of the cavities to a slightly different frequencies. And if you want the high gain, you should tune the frequency of the cavities to the same frequency. So this tuning, which will be called it as synchronous tuning, which will be tune the frequency to the same frequency. And if you tune the cavities to the different frequency, this will call it as staggered tuning. Okay, so this is synchronous tuning. Okay, so that will be called it as synchronous tuning and the staggered tuning, so to improve the gain or the bandwidth of the so multi-cavity klystron. Okay, so this is about the multi-cavity klystron. So now we coming to the another type of the linear O type of the amplifier, which is called as traveling wave amplifier. So now in order to whatever the disadvantages we faced in multi-cavity klystron, so since the cavities are resonant, so only we need to tune the frequencies, so that it is a some, so we need to if you want to get the gain, so the frequency will be tuned to a same frequency, so the bandwidth will be narrow. So now, so that to avoid that the bandwidth problem, so we'll go for this traveling wave tube amplifier. Okay, so this traveling wave tube amplifier, it will be a high gain, so till around 40 dB we can able to get it. And the noise figure, so the noise factor of this traveling wave tube, it will be around less than 10 dB, and also it is a wideband microwave amplifier. So now frequency range, we can operate it from 0.5 gigahertz to 50 gigahertz. Okay, so now here there is no resonant structure here, but instead there is a helix structure which is uh, placed around the whatever beam which is uh, electron beam which is formed, and this will be uh, placed at the exactly at the center of this cathode and the collector. Okay, so now this cathode, as I said, it will generate the electron beams, that is electrons which is produced. And this electron focusing magnet, it will actually, it should not the electrons should not despread or debunch, so it will take the electron beam to a, and it will focus to the collector. Okay, and attenuator is placed, so due to any impedance mismatch, if it is there inside this structure, so that impedance mismatch will reflect the signal from the output. So in order to attenuate that reflected signal, and in order to not to form the oscillations, so this attenuator is placed. Okay, and the RF input, it is given without any uh, like whatever RF input which is given to the helix, which are without touching, by using the coupler. So even at the input and output, the couplers are used to uh, couple the power to the helix. Okay, so now whenever you applied the input at the cathode, so the electrons which will travel, and the RF signal which is travel through the helix structure, so which will actually it is a having slow wave structure, because the wave which is applied at the input, due to the helix structure, the structure of this helix, the wave will going to slow down its velocity compared to the electron beam velocity, that is beam, whatever the beam which is formed by the electron. So the DC beam velocity which is greater than this RF whatever signal which is travel through the helix. So because of that difference in the helix, that velocity of these two, so the energy which is coming from the electrons, which will transfer to the this helix wave, and it will be collected at the RF output. So now the amplification, how it will happen means, so whenever the electrons which is forming the bunches, so when the velocity of that electrons, it will be greater than this helical structure. So since the wave is slow, and the electrons which will transfer their kinetic energy to this slow wave helix structure, so the energy when it transfer from the electrons, so the wave which will get amplified, and that it will give the RF output. So this is how the amplification it will happen through this slow wave helix structure. So since there is no resonant cavity, so since this helix structure is a non-resonant kind of thing, so the amplification and gain of this will be very high. Okay, so since there is no resonance required here, so that's why the amplification and gain of the structure will be high. Okay, so that is what here it is given. So it contains electron gun, so which produces and then accelerate the electron beam, so along the axis of the tube. So the surrounding static magnet provides the magnetic field along the axis of the tube to focus the electrons into a tight beam. So this magnetic focus, that magnet which is there here, it actually focus the electron beam, and it should not allow the de-spreading or debunching of that electrons. Okay, so a longitudinal slow wave non-resonant guide is placed at the center of the tube that provides a low impedance transmission line. So this is a slow wave structure. So the helix which is placed inside this is a slow wave structure which provides the low impedance the transmission line path for the RF input wave. Okay, so now this RF input and output are coupled onto and removed from the helix by the directional coupler. So there is no direct physical contact between this helix and the RF input and RF output. So there is a coupler which is used so to give the input as well as to take the RF output. Okay. So the TWT is designed with helix delay structure to slow the traveling wave down to or below the speed of the electrons in the beam. So as I said, the electron beams, the DC velocity of the electrons, it will be high compared to the wave which is traveling on the helix structure. Okay, so by doing this delay, so the electrons, whatever the electrons energy which is transferred from the cathode to the electrons, those energy we can be able to properly give that kinetic energy to the slow wave structure. So the electrons being accelerated to travel faster than the waves of the traveling wave which is on the helix wire. So then it is velocity modulated. So the electrons will be experiences this RF cycle. So whatever is RF wave, so that will be velocity modulated, and also it is uh, caused by the interaction of traveling wave fields and the electron beam. So this will be velocity modulated by this helix, whatever the RF wave which is traveling on the helix wire. So this velocity modulation results in the bunching of electrons, give up the energy to the traveling wave. So when the fields of the correct polarity slow down the bunches. So since the RF having a positive cycle as well as the negative cycle, so whenever it will be having a same polarity, it will slow down the electron bunching. Or if it is experiences the different polarity, it will faster the bunching of the electron. So now energy from the bunches increases the amplitude of the traveling wave in the progressive action that takes place along the length of the TWT. So now bunching, whenever the energy from the electron, it will bunches and it will increase the amplitude of the traveling wave which is on the helix structure. Okay. So now RF signal travels down the helix wire is much greater distance than the electron beam. So the electron beam directly it will travel from cathode to the collector, but the wave which is so along around this helix structure, so the delay or the time taken by the RF wave on the helix wire it will be greater. So the time taken by the wave which is travel on the helix wave is greater than the electron beam which is travel from cathode to the collector. So that will we can change the beam velocity of the electron or the velocity of the helix wire by changing the number of turns and the diameter of the helix. So this DC beam voltage is adjusted by the beam uh, the beam velocity of the electrons will be adjusted by the DC beam voltage, and the helix wave we can able to change the velocity by changing the number of turns and the diameter of the helix. Okay, so when we change both this DC beam voltage, and it will change the DC beam velocity and also the wave velocity, so that we can change uh, whenever we need the bunching process the maximum. So this will be varied and we can actually amplify the signal. So this helical delay structure helps in bunching process, so due to its large proportion of electric fields that are parallel to the electron beam. So whenever this having the RF signal produces the fields, so that electric fields are parallel to the electron beam, and this will be proportional to the bunching process. So now when the electron bunch releases its energy to the signal on the helix, so the amplification begins and process will continue till the RF wave reaches the RF output collector or the coupler. Okay, so this RF wave and electron beam travel down the length of the tube. So now when the loss of the system is compensated by the energy time, the TS time energy transfer, a, a steady amplification of microwave signal appears at the output. Okay. So now as I said, attenuator which is here placed exactly at the center of the helix. So this attenuator which will actually uh, reduce the reflection of the waves due to mismatch at the any output point. Okay, so that it will reduce the attenuation of the signal of the reflected wave. So attenuator which is placed a part of helix and midway, it will attenuate the reflected wave generated due to impedance mismatch that put fed back to the input to cause oscillation. So uh, it will attenuate the reflected waves. So if reflection waves come from output to the input, it will cause the oscillation. So that attenuator which will be placed, it will reduce this effect. Okay, so now this TWTAs are commercially available above 1 gigahertz, so up to power gain of even, so as I said, it is greater than 40 dB, even it will go up to 60 dB. So now there is an internal attenuator which reduces the gain of the tube, and also it produces the heat. So due to this, the bunching of electrons and the velocity be modulated, so the heat will be produced. So that must be dissipated by the air conditioner liquid cooling system. So since it is a high power device, so since automatically the heat will be so generated, that heat will be, so you need to dissipate either by using air conditioning or liquid cooling system. So now coming to the analysis of TWTA, so as we said, the helix structure which will carry the wave, so this will be having the diameter as well as the pitch. Okay, so how the wave propagation in helix it will happen. So whenever an axial microwave E field component is being created inside the helix, so the slow wave guide by injecting the input signal. So this field will decelerate the electrons in the axial beam at some sections. So and at the other section it will accelerate. So due to this axial form, so some part it will be going to accelerate and some part it will going to decelerate, so resulting in density modulation. Some part it will going to happen more bunching process, and other part of the helix it will form the low bunching process. Okay, so according to the input signal or at whatever RF input signal, it will accelerate or decelerate the electrons. So now helix reducing the phase velocity of wave propagation from the velocity of light that the beam can be maintained. The signal travel along the helix conductor profile approximately equal to the velocity of light. So this will be the time taken by the electrons, which is, so this is the actual time period which is taken by the wave along the helix structure. Okay, so the phase velocity can be defined by using the diameter and the pitch of the helix. Okay, when the pitch is far less than the diameter, so then it will be useful while designing the slow wave structure. So now how the beam field will interaction happens. So as we discussed in the cavity, so whenever the electron which is travel in the same direction of the electric field, okay, so here, so whenever we discussed in the klystron, so we discussed this thing, that is how the electrons which accelerate and decelerate. So when the electrons it is traveling in the same direction, it will give energy to the electric field and it will going to reduce its velocity. When it is going to opposite of the electric field, it will accelerate by taking the energy of the electric field. So the same thing here, it will be uh, described in the analysis. Okay, so whenever your electric field exerts the force on the electrons, so whenever it is traveling in the same direction, so it will decelerate, and whenever it is traveling in the opposite direction, it will going to accelerate. You can see here, so when the electric field is in this direction, it will be accelerate, and when the electric field is in the same direction of the electron, it will going to decelerate. Okay, so that is the force which is exerted by the field onto the electrons. So this is what the beam field interaction. When the EM wave traveling along the helix axis, so which is having a longitudinal component of electric field, so it exerts the force on the electrons, which is given by F equal to minus E into E. Okay. So now when E field directed against the electron flow, as I said, it will accelerate the electrons, and the directed along the electron flow decelerate the electron. So thus the density modulation which will occur in accordance with the input signal frequency, so to form the electron bunches. So now the DC beam velocity, so which will be varied using the DC beam voltage, so which is maintained greater than the phase velocity of the traveling wave in order to occur the retarding field, and it will give the kinetic energy to the wave, so which formed by the beam. So this field amplitude increases the, so this field, whatever the electric field amplitude, it increases the forming of more compact bunch, and a large amplification occurs, so when the signal voltage appears at the output of the helix. Okay, so what is meant by focusing? So the focusing is the entire electron beams move axially without spreading. So since we have placed the that magnet focusing coils around the tube, so it will not spread the electrons or debunch the electrons. So whenever the entire electron beam move axially without spreading, so by the influence of axial magnetic field generated by means of permanent magnet. Even we can use the solenoid, which will be used for high power devices. Okay, so the permanent magnet is used for low power tubes, and the current carrying solenoid is used for the high power tubes. So now this solenoid, since the solenoid is bulky, so and consumes more power, so it is used in the high power tubes wherever the output is required, which is greater than the in the order of kilowatt. Okay, and the permanent magnet, it is used for low power application like for satellite communication and all. So reflection of waves, as I said, the attenuator is placed, so in order to reduce the reflection which is due to mismatch in the any output section of the traveling wave tube. So due to this mismatching of the impedance, the reflection exists, and reflected waves will propagate from output to the input side, which will cause the oscillation. In order to reduce that, so the attenuator is placed exactly midway of this traveling wave tube. So here you can see the attenuator which is placed here. Okay, So even so attenuator will cause the forward wave also, but when the wave which is going after the attenuation, it will going to amplify. So due to the electron bunches which will give the electrons that kinetic energy after this attenuator. You can see this here. So after this effect of attenuator, the amplification or bunching is takes place. So that it is designed in such a way that the bunching will form after the attenuator. Okay. So now how the gain characteristics can be analyzed of this TWT. So as we know, the output voltage by input voltage, so square, if you take the 10 log of this, it will give the value of the gain in terms of dB. So for this TWT, so the output power gain can be by using this equation we can able to calculate. So this is the loss of this system. So due to the fact that so the waves which is formed by the cathode, by the like whatever the cathode which is emitted by the emitted the electrons, it will form the beam. So that input wave which will whatever at the RF input which is gave, it will divide the waves, so with the equal magnitude. Only one of these wave will get amplified, so the other two will get loss in the tube itself. So that loss it is given by this value, so 9.54 dB. And so n is the length of the interaction region in wavelength, so that will be given it as L by lambda e, where L is the length of the slow wave structures in meters, and lambda e is given by the velocity, exit velocity, which is given by u naught, exit velocity of the electrons, which is given by 2 pi u naught by omega. So u naught is defined by this one. So now the factor C, so which is here given by the gain equation, which is the gain parameter of the circuit. So which is given by C equal to I naught into Z naught divided by 4 into V naught. So this I naught is the DC beam current and Z naught is the impedance of the slow wave helix structure, and V naught is the DC beam voltage. Okay, so characteristic impedance of this helix. So by using this we can calculate the gain of the circuit factor, that whatever the circuit factor which is C, the gain parameter of the circuit. Okay, so by using this equation we can able to calculate the gain of the characteristic, that gain characteristic of the TWT amplifier. So now whenever the input power if you increase, so up to some extent the RF power output of the TWT will also increase. So up to some point, so after it will going to degrade. So only when some portion of the input power it will give the maximum gain. So that portion which will be called it at saturation gain. Okay, so this will happen only due to some part of the input power. Okay, so the peak power of the output helix is tube which is limited about 3 kilowatt because of the difficulty in removing heat. So the peak power the output which is limited to 3 kilowatt. So because heat will be generated enormous, so that will be the problem. So if the RF input is increased, as I said, the RF output is also increased and attains the maximum, and again it will going to decrease. So this point will be called at saturation point or maximum output power point. So now this range of input where the maximum gain which will be attained, which is called as overdrive capability of the TWT. Okay, so this is a overdrive capability of TWT where exactly you will get the range of the input. So here say for example at this point if it is the gain is high, so then which will be called it as overdrive capability of TWT. And also the gain characteristics with respect to input power we can see, so it will going to decrease. So as the RF power input going to increase, because of the loss it will be more and it will dissipated as a heat. Okay, so now also the distortion which will occur as the operating input power increases. So the what are the types of the distortion which are there in this TWT? So the operating level approaches the saturation, so wherever the maximum point. So since the due to non-linearity characteristics, the intermodulation product distortion it will occur. That means the harmonics also it will going to play a role in the amplification process. So that will produce the distortion. So another form of distortion is phase distortion, that is phase non-linearities. So that is due to time delay between the input and output of the TWT at these significant higher input levels. So if you go on increasing the input level, so because of the time delay between the input and output signal of the TWT, so the distortion, the phase distortion will occur. So the more energy in the electron beam, so the energy in the electron beam will be converted to power, so that the average beam velocity is reduced and delay occurs. So this results in the phase shift of the output relative to the phase shift at the saturation. Okay, so this phase shift converts the phase modulation at the output for an amplitude modulation on the input. So whenever you do the amplitude modulation at the input, the phase shift which will converts it as a phase modulation at the output. So this distortion is obviously it will give trouble. So whenever the unwanted amplitude variation at the input, which will be appeared as a modulated signal at the output. So this is what the distortion which will occur. And when we operated at the near point at the maximum gain point, so as I said, harmonic distortion occurs, the higher order modes of the signal which will cause the amplification. And also this distortion which will occur due to intense electron bunching, which produce the short circuit peaks, that is short current peaks in rich in harmonics. That means the current peak which will be having a higher order harmonics which will produce the distortion. So the current noise in the TWT is generated so due to the fluctuation in the cathode emission and electron velocity. So whatever the noise factor for the medium power TWTs and are in the range of 18 to 30 dB. So this you can see, so the TWTs for the medium range which will be having the noise factors between 18 to 30 dB, and for high power TWTs it will be in the range of 24 to 27 dB. Now if you compare this, so TWT amplifier with the klystron amplifier, so both are linear beam type or O type devices. So and in the klystron amplifier, so since the uses of cavities for input and outputs, the resonant cavities, and in TWTA it will use the non-resonant wave circuits. So like helix kind of circuit it is using, and here it is a resonant cavity circuits it is using. So because of the resonant cavities used in the klystron amplifier, so this will give the very narrow band, the bandwidth will be very less. So here it is the wide band, so it will give the bandwidth, good bandwidth, because of the so non-resonant the circuit which is used. Okay, so this is the comparison between the klystron amplifier and the traveling wave tube amplifier. So now what are the applications of the traveling wave tube amplifier are? So these are used in medium power satellite and high power satellite transponder outputs. So these are the applications. So because the amplification and gain also high, so but the dissipation of heat is very much high, so that's why only the medium power uh, satellites will be used by this TWT amplifier will be used by the medium power satellites. Okay, so you can, so if you take the problem on this TWT, so by using this equation you can calculate a helix traveling wave tube operates at 4 gigahertz under a beam current, so beam voltage of 10 kilovolt and beam current of 500 milliampere. If the helix impedance is 25 ohms and the interaction length is 20 centimeter, find the output power gain in dB. So now we can use this equation and you can able to calculate it. Okay, so you can calculate what is the lambda, so which is given by the frequency which is 4 gigahertz. So once you calculate lambda, so the length of the slow wave structure which is given, so the length of the interaction length which is given 20 centimeter, you can calculate what is n. So by using these two we can calculate what is n. So now by using this the characteristic impedance, current, and the voltage. We can calculate the what is the gain parameter of the circuit. So C. So now we know N and we know C. We can substitute and we can calculate what is the gain of the the output power gain of the TWT. Okay. So now calculate what is the uh, N and what is N and lambda E. We can calculate what is lambda E, which is equal to C by F. So which is given by 0.3 giga by 4 gigahertz. So calculate what it is giving. Which is, so we can take 30 into 10 power minus 2 divided by 4, which will give, so 7.5 into 10 power minus 2 meters. So which is given by 0.075 meters. Okay. So this is lambda. So N we can calculate L by lambda E. So L is in terms, if you take it is in terms of centimeter, which is equal to 7.5 centimeter. Okay. So length it is given 20 centimeter divided by 7.5 centimeter. So this is 20 by 7.5. So how much it is? So you can calculate what is N and you can calculate what is C. C equal to, so I naught, so Z naught divided by V naught. That is the equation. I naught Z naught by 4 V naught. Okay. It is 4 4 V naught. So which is equal to I naught, it is 500 milliampere into Z naught 25 ohm. So this divided by 4 into 10 kilovolt. Okay. So we can calculate what is C. So now after calculating, you convert NC into a dB. So you can get the value of the output in terms of gain, in terms of dB. Okay. So we can put the values of N and C and we can calculate what is the gain of the TWT amplifier. Okay. So this is about TWT and the multi-cavity klystron. So now we'll have magnetron oscillator. So this will be discussed in the next class. We'll discuss this one in the next class. So any doubt in this? So TWT and multi-cavity klystron. Hello.